Hello and welcome back to the garden and back to the Bog Garden. And for anyone that's newly subscribed, I garden in an old sandstone quarry. Now this quarry, which is the very bottom, the base of it here, where I'm creating this bog garden, was mined for a local landowner to build his mansion house, his farm buildings, that sort of thing. It was never a commercial endeavour. And once it was mined for all of those buildings, it then was just left. And it was just left to self-seed, the weeds, the trees, everything. And that's what it was like when we bought it quite a few years ago now. But 18 months ago, I started to create this bog garden in this very bottom area. And it's coming along. I've had successes, I've had some failures. You'll have seen from earlier in the video how we put the path in. So yeah, it's doing okay considering all the rain we've had. It's been pretty hard to get plants in the ground because it's like treacle. It's a solid clay, very clay, so every plant that I add has to like clay, and very wet, boggy conditions. So let me show you the plants that I've got to add today, and then I'll give you a tour of how this area is actually coming together 18 months later. Now the first plant that I'm going to add today is one that I've actually bought, and this is Ligularia Desdemona. Never grown this variety before, and what I love about this particular one is the leaves. Very large, like a dark bronzy coloured leaf. But the underneath, the undersides are gorgeous purple, and you can actually see those from the way it sort of sits in the ground. It has large daisy-like flowers, about orange, yellow type. Some people call them orange, some people say they're yellow. I would say they're more orange than yellow. And it's particularly pretty. I'll just put it down because it's heavy. So I've got 3 of those to add. Completely hardy perennial, comes back every year. Dies down in the winter, cut back anything that you have remaining round about. I cut mine back about early February. Anything between early February, end of March, you need to cut it back because they do grow back quite quickly. Loves clay soil, has to be in a moist position. Does like a little bit more sun than the other Ligularias. So this will be a test to see how it copes down here. Late afternoon here, we don't have any sun this time of day. So it'll be interesting to see how well it does. Height wise, anything up to 3 feet, 1 metre, similarly the same in spread. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I've got some flower spikes on it, so hopefully it should do good. So I've got 3 of those to add. Next plant. So the next plant is this one, Lythrum Rosy Gem. I think this one is Rosy Gem. I've lost the label. But I bought these from my local nursery, and it's a British UK native wildflower, and I just think it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. So a few plant details. It loves clay soil, prefers moist soil, likes to be in a sun to partial shade position, will tolerate any soil type, acid, neutral, alkaline. It's not fussy at all, as long as it's kept in a moist position in the garden. Height wise, it will grow anything from, I would say, 3 to 4 feet in height, about anything from 1 metre to 1.5 metres. Similarly, the spread will be pretty much the same. Can self-seed around. I don't mind that because obviously I've got a big area to fill. In the summer, and it's a late flowering one, it has very tall, as you can see, tall flower spikes of this beautiful purple flower on the top. It's certainly one of the best, in my opinion, wildflowers that we actually have here in the UK, but I love that one. So that is Lythrum Rosy Gem. On to the next one. And last but not least is this Primula Florindae. Now I've already got these, and I'll show you them at the end in the bog garden, and I just love them. So this is the Tibetan cowslip, or giant cowslip, and unlike other primulas, this flowers in July, August and September. And it's one of my favourite all-time primulas. As you can see, it has these lovely tall flower spikes which grow, I would say, anything from 2 to 3 feet in height. spread, about 2 feet spread, but they actually do self-seed everywhere, and I'll show you the evidence of that. Again, that's what I want. If you didn't want it to self-seed, you would just cut off the spent flower spikes later on in the season. But it's very late flowering Primula. In fact, it's probably the latest flowering Primula as far as I'm aware. Loves any type of soil. Again, acid, alkaline, neutral, grows anywhere, is very unfussy. As long as it's kept in a very damp position in the garden. Saying that, I have seen it somewhere in one of our local National Trust properties in a very dry woodland, and it's flowered magnificently. So it just shows it can, once adapted and once actually mature, it can actually cope in drier situations. But I certainly have it here in my bog garden. So that's it, that's all of the plants. Oh, and it's actually very hardy, I should say that. Hardy down to RHS rating H7, which is -20, so anywhere here in the UK. I've got a few other plants dotted around. I don't think I'm going to get them planted today, but you never know, see how far we get. So here goes. Did I say it was like wading through treacle? It's awful. And I have actually turned this soil over already, believe it or not, but it hasn't dried out at all. The joys of a bog garden. So I promised you a mini tour of the bog garden, and I thought I would start here at the messy end. This is the work in progress end. This is a test hole that I dug out a year ago just to see if the clay would retain the water in here, because I'd love to put in a natural pond, and it's never been emptied since. That's mainly because of all the rain we've had, but it looks promising. I do want to put a pond in here without a liner, so we'll see how that goes over the next couple of months. The plants in here are plants I've dug out from elsewhere in the garden. These are Joe Pye weed. They're just sitting in the water for now until I can get them into the border further down. But the purple loosestrife, which is the Lythrum plant that I added, which is this very pretty plant here, that is a native wildflower here, but this is a cultivar. This has been bred to be planted in gardens, this Rosy Gem variety. It can be, loosestrife can be invasive elsewhere in the world, but these cultivars are bred to be planted in the garden, so I'm not too concerned about this one. But let me show you the rest of the bog garden further down. So here's the good part of the bog garden. So next to the purple loosestrife, the Lythrum, I've got Eupatorium, which is a lovely rosy flower on the top. Not quite sure of the variety. I'll see if I can put that on the screen for you. Done really well. And in front of that is Lysimachia, Never quite sure how you pronounce that, but all of these clumps have been dug out of elsewhere in the garden. Hopefully next year they'll flower a lot better and they'll be standing up straight. Obviously they're a little bit disjointed at this point in time. But moving on further down, next to that is the Persicaria, and this variety is Firetail. Now I added these as 3 very small clumps earlier on in the year. I think it was about April, May time, and this is how big they've actually grown. The clumps have spread quite easily. Obviously they've loved the wet weather we've had. And then behind that, what's left of the flowering Ligularia, and that's the rocket. And again, dug out from elsewhere in the garden, so hopefully next year they will just grow and fill out this spot. So the first plants that I added earlier today are the Ligularia Desdemona. And true to form, the star plant which I put in the front, I broke the flower spike off. Never mind, it'll be next year before I see any flowers on that. And then just lying in the path, I've got several trays of primulas. They are postfed white that I've dug out of the white garden, and I'm hoping to add them in the next couple of days. So I thought I would give you an inside view of the bog garden. This is what it looks like inside, either side of the path. First plants that you're going to come to are the astilbes. Now I've been digging these out from elsewhere in the garden. Lots of different types, purples, pinks at the far end. I'll put some of the names on the screen now, just in case if anyone's interested. But I like the enclosure that I've got now with the tall perennials on the other side and the smaller, low down plants next to the path inside of here. As you can see, one of the failures is the grasses. I have got a family of many rabbits and they have just eaten their way through all of the grasses, so they're gonna have to come out. So far, they've not touched the hostas, which are in a good state still. They don't even have any, hardly any slug damage. The plants I added earlier, the Primula Florindae, one thing I forgot to add was they've got a gorgeous smell, really lovely scent to them. So they're a lovely addition. But hopefully you can see that in the last 18 months, I have actually moved it on quite a bit. Still so much more to do because I've got 2 sides of this bog garden to do, but that will be in the future. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.